Hi, I'm the OBG, and tonight I'll be covering Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers from 1997. So let's get straight into that. Starship Troopers is set approximately 700 years from the present day from when the film was made. That was 1979. And the human society in Starship Troopers is ruled by the Terran Federation, which is a form of world government dominated by the military elite. And the society is depicted as affluent and shows futuristic technologies coexisting with educational methods from the 20th century. And the rights of full citizen to vote and hold public office are not universally guaranteed, but must be earned through federal service. And those who do not perform this service, which usually takes a form of military service, they retain the rights of free speech and assembly, but they cannot vote or hold public office. Now, people of either gender above the age of 18 are permitted to enlist. And this brings us to the main characters who enlist into the military service. And on this front, Starship Troopers is a coming-of-age film. So, Starship Troopers is a brilliant film in my view, and on the surface, even though it appears to be another sci-fi film about brave soldiers killing alien enemies, on a deeper look, the director Paul Verhoeven creates a cult classic that satirises US right-wing militarism and fascism. And the stinger is that it pulls the viewers in to enjoy and support the fascism, showing how easy it is to control the minds of people during the rise of a fascist regime. And the film has also been described as criticising the jingoism of the US foreign policy, the military-industrial complex, and the society in the film, which elevates violence over sensitivity. Now, on its initial release in 1997, it was panned by critics for its violence and wooden acting. However, it has slowly become a bit of a cult classic. And in my view, this is a story of how we were moving towards a dystopian future, cunningly disguised as an action film. Now, the film is from a script by which was called Buck Hunt at Outpost 9, and it was adapted to merge with Robert A. Heinlein's classic novel Starship Troopers, which he wrote in 1959. The similarities between the book and the film are minor, and whilst the book has been criticised for promoting fascism and military rule, the film has a far different message, although this is not quite obvious to many viewers. Now, when I first saw the film, I actually enjoyed it and I thought it was a nonsensical action film. However, there was something about it that didn't quite sit well with me. I almost felt guilty for enjoying it, and this led me to further analysis where I found out its true meaning and my original tingling spidey senses found justification. Now, the film actually condemns violence, and it has a consistent commentary around issues of nationalism and xenophobia. Michael Ironside, who starred as a military officer in it, is quoted as saying that he spoke to Verhoeven asking him why he's making a right-wing fascist film, to which Verhoeven replied, "If I tell the world that a right-wing fascist way of doing things doesn't work, no one will listen to me, so I'm going to make a perfect fascist world. Everyone is beautiful, everything is shiny, everything has big guns and fancy ships, but it's only for fucking killing bugs," something like that. Anyway, in the end. So Matt Damon and Mark Wahlberg, they actually auditioned for the film, but Verhoeven went with Casper Van Dien as he fitted the blonde Aryan look. And he even cast a strong female role, casting Dina Meyer, who was pretty badass, and she was a great role model. Now, Verhoeven actually grew up in Nazi-occupied Netherlands, so he had the first-hand experience with authority and with the military, and of course with the rise in fascism. And he took Heinlein's material and he turned it on its head, satirising those concepts. And Verhoeven has always used genre films as his vehicles for social commentary, injecting his subversive take on things. For instance, RoboCop was analogous to the rise of the militarisation of the police in the US. So, Starship Troopers, although it looked like a B-movie action flick, it actually cost a whopping $100 million, and it only took $121 million on its release, which gave critics yet another reason to pan it. And the critics incorrectly put the bad acting and soapy dialogue down to the director's overreach. However, Verhoeven stated that he was exploring the sense of mania and dislocation that sets in under a constant regime of propaganda, stating that dreamlike fascism is a dream that fascism proposes to you, whereas in reality, that dream is a nightmare. Now, the film cleverly turns the actions of its heroes into media fodder to further justify military action through the newsreels which he shows, and they constantly appear throughout the film. In fact, the film actually begins with one. And Verhoeven said that he deliberately put in the newsreels and adverts in what he saw was true, and he based it on what he saw on American TV and their love for guns. And in fact, many of the newsreels and some of the scenes were taken straight from Nazi propaganda reels. And in an interview with Interview magazine, in response to the question, why was the film so misunderstood, Verhoeven said, it was too difficult, and I think that people have never seen a film, a really big Star Wars kind of film with a message like that. And I don't think that they were ready to accept the fact that the film was political. And you can see that it was political 15 to 20 years later with all that has happened, and people have started to realise that a dominant layer of the film was actually political. And I thought it was audacious what we did, but it didn't pay off very well. That's what he said, more or less. So I'm not convinced that Starship Troopers is solely satire. Instead, it cleverly feeds us both worlds. In some cases, it's mocking fascism, and on the other hand, it's celebratory, something which it purposefully does in order to draw us in with a reminder that fascist ideology can be seductive in its presentation. And if you didn't get Starship Troopers the first time around, do give it a second look. Apart from its entertainment value, it carries a very important message: say no to fascism. I am the OBG.